There are 7 steps given in research process. Now we'll study each one by one. First step is identification of a problem, and problem can be identified through many sources. It can be a problem in your institution, particularly the problem about the behavior of a student. Once the problem is understood in institution or a school or in industry or in a family, the second job is to identify what kind of research available related to such problem. You have to collect at least 15 to 20 researches available on similar problem, or you may say same problem, and from those 15 to 20 researches, after going through the entire research report, you have to focus on the abstract and conclusion part of the research report. And within the abstract or in conclusion, you have to search for what are the results and what are the findings or what are the conclusion of the research. You have to note it separately in your word, in your own word. Means you have to write it separately, quoting the author of the research report. Then you can write as it is. But if you are just changing it little, so then use your own word. That way you will have a collection of 5 to 6 pages of inferences drawn from the research review. One part is research review. Second part is inferences drawn from the research review. Normally, in IGNOU project, most of the students are writing abstract as it is. Recently, I came to know in Raisoni University, they have demanded inferences of the review separately. So 50 pages were written for review, and they said at least 10 pages should be there drawing the inferences from the research review. So in IGNOU project, at least you should be able to draw 1 or 2 pages of inferences from the reviews, and then you have to read, you have to go through it, you have to relate it to the problem which you have faced in your institution or in your school or in your college. Just relate it. Here you will understand the gap. What you have observed, what problem you have observed in your school or in your institution, do not have some specific area to be addressed in various researches, and then record that gap as a research gap. This way, identification of a problem and research review can be completed. This is the first step in writing research project or PhD thesis or research report, paid or free. Now, for this purpose, the IGNOU has recommended to refer PsychoInfo. This is published by American Psychological Association. I also get a monthly report of PsychoInfo because I am also a member of American Psychological Association. Every year I am paying 6,000 rupees for that. So I get it. Now you have to find out many such reviews in PsychoInfo. Within the PsychoInfo, you will get the title. You go to the title. But nowadays, many of the important research reports, they are just giving the description. Even they are not showing the abstract and the conclusion. Because they understood well that Indians are not going to buy. They just want everything free. So nowadays, in many of the researches, they just write 2 or 3 paragraphs about their research. They don't show the abstract or the conclusion also. Now forget about the whole report. But in spite of this, many research reports are available on internet. Or now you have to then use monthly or quarterly journals which are published. So if you become a member for that journal, so you will get the complete research report in those journals. But PsychoInfo is sufficient for you. I don't think you have to go ahead. But for true research, you have to refer to many national level and international level journals. Particularly in our India, you can refer to the research published by NIMHANS and research published by Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, TISS. Now this is first step. Now second step. Second step is formulating a hypothesis. Now research gap is identified. So before writing a hypothesis, you write first objectives. You write first aim. From aim and objectives, your hypothesis will be more clearer and clearer to you. Now hypothesis should be particularly related to the research which is not done in any of the research review. It was not available in any of the research review. Then your research findings will be important and useful. So writing a aim, writing a objective and writing a hypothesis is itself a skill. Any person can challenge your objectives. Any person can challenge your aim. Challenging the rational aim, objectives and hypothesis is not a big issue. Some people can challenge it irrationally also. Some people can challenge it logically also. So you should not be afraid of the challenges. If you are very clear about your research gap, then assume that your hypothesis, which will be written appropriately. Writing a hypothesis appropriate means the statement of hypothesis should be directional, clear, concrete and objective. It should be clear, concrete, objective and directional. That is what recommended nowadays. So if these 4 components are there, then if anybody challenges it, don't worry. You ignore them. That way, the hypothesis has to be formulated. The third step is identifying, manipulating and controlling variable. Now, within your research, you have to identify various types of variables. First, what is your dependent variable? Means on which variable you want to see the impact. Like just take the example of aggression and mood disturbances. Aggression leads to mood disturbances. So mood disturbances is a dependent variable. Second is your independent variable. So because aggression impacts the mood, aggression leads to mood disturbances, so aggression is your independent variable. Now here the quality will be produced by somebody when he will say that in addition to aggression there is one more variable which is important and has an impact on mood disturbances. So he will add one more variable, that is impulsiveness. So now the moment the new variable is added, the title is changed. Aggression and impulsiveness leads to mood disturbances. Aggression and impulsiveness leads to mood disturbances. Now when you want to see the impact of aggression and impulsiveness on mood disturbances, you have to assume that all other variable which is called as extraneous variable or interrelated or intervening variable are constant. That is the assumption. In fact, in psychological research, no variable can be kept constant. It can be kept constant only on material based studies and some studies in physics and chemistry. There is a psychology of physics also. So in those experiments, keeping constant is possible. But we assume that when we say that aggression and impulsiveness leads to mood disturbances, we assume that all other variables are kept constant, and assuming that other variables are not constant, if your study varies from the available reports, available literature review, you can write explanation in the discussion actually. So that way identifying, that is identification. Now what is the manipulation of a variable? So when I say highly impulsive and moderately impulsive or low on impulsiveness, so here I have manipulated my variable at three levels: low, moderate and high. Highly aggressive. So how I will manipulate the variable? I cannot manipulate the variable. So what I will do? I will choose a people of higher aggression, moderate aggression and lower aggression. Means I will choose a three group of people. One is having the higher aggression, high aggression, second is moderate aggression and third is low aggression. So low aggression and low impulsiveness, that will be one group. Low moderate aggression and moderate impulsiveness will be second group, and high impulsiveness and high aggression will be third group. So that way I will have the three groups. And if you want to keep extraneous variable constant, so take test of intelligence and ensure that in each group people are having the common intelligence or average intelligence common. Then I can call it as that you have controlled your research very well. When I identify a level, it is manipulation. And when I keep other intervening variable constant, that is control. So that way in step 3, identifying, manipulating and controlling variable is important. Ideally, nobody can achieve this state ideally, but practically if you try you can achieve, but preferably don't try in IGNOU project. Your research will be never completed. You try it in your PhD project. आगे में करना. IGNOU के period में the most important constraint is time. You have been given only 6 month time to finish, and that way that day in IGNOU workshop they have advised to take minimum 2 variable, take a simple correlational or cause and effect relation, and do a simple study. That is advised by Dr. Kubalkar and Dr. Janbandhu, both of them. Now step 4, formulating a research design. Now this is a step very critical. First, many people cannot understand the meaning of design. Research design, the meaning of research design. Actually, whatever you do systematically and in a controlled manner is a part of a research design. Research design is not like some design of any like architecture design or a building design. No. Research design is defined as the plans, structure and strategy you are selecting to finish or to complete your project or to complete your research. So what is a plan? Then the question comes, what is a plan? Sample selection plan. What is your sample size? Of what age people will be involved in your research? From which class they will be? From which area they will be? From which school they will be? Like that. That is a sample plan. Then sampling procedure. Which procedure you will go? You will go by simply purposive sampling, or you will go by randomized sampling. There are 2-3 most important methods of sampling. There are many sampling methods, but you need not to go for that. Whatever the sampling method which is practicable, that you have to use. Then you have to have a plan for using statistical procedure. So what you are going to do? Are you going to use t-test, or you are going to use ANOVA, or you are going to use chi-square test? Means your interest is to identify, to finding a difference between estimation and actuals. So that you have to select for your research study. Mostly I will suggest to IGNOU student, go for t-test, means identify a significant difference between two groups, or maximum you go for ANOVA, particularly 2x2 factorial design, in which you identify the impact of one variable on another variable, choosing two different levels. Sometimes it is called as 2x2 factorial design also. We will go into that detail later on. Then structure of the result. Here, whatever a design you have selected, can you put into a meaningful rows and column, or can you show some diagrammatic representation of your complete research procedures. That diagrammatic representation is itself a structure of your research design. And finally, strategy. Strategy can be written into one paragraph or two paragraphs. One paragraph is sufficient. How strategically you are going to move from data collection to conclusion, drawing conclusion, because the job of before data collection you have already done in research review and all. So from data collection to writing final report, that can be a part of strategy. It can be written into very few lines. That is fourth step. Now here in the fourth step itself, there are two sub steps, that is constructing devices for observation and measurement. So you have to have a primary data or primary information. So for collecting primary data and primary information, you need to have measurement tool. Personal observation can be subjective. It is better to have a measurement tool. So what is measured is also observation. We called it as data, but it can also be termed as observations. Now for measurement, you can use two techniques. One is standardized test, which is already well standardized by any other psychologist, that you can use. Means here, if our topic is related to aggression and impulsiveness, impact the mood or disturbances, so you should use aggression and impulsiveness test to identify aggression and impulsiveness of your sample, and then on the basis of data collected you have to classify high aggression, high impulsiveness, moderate aggression, moderate impulsiveness, and low aggression, low impulsiveness. Once that is over, then you have to collect the data of mood disturbances. Now collecting data of mood disturbances is possible either by standardized tool, or you can use your own questionnaire, or you can design a format based on factors responsible for mood disturbances. Factors of phenomena in which mood disturbances can be observed, and you can take the rating on it. That rating will be further quantified to give you the mood disturbances. So mood disturbances is obtained, your groups are ready. Now you are ready for proceeding ahead. Sample selection and data collection I have already explained you in a strategy part. So you will move ahead to explain data analysis and their interpretation. Now here is the fifth step, data analysis and interpretation. So before data analysis, there is one step, that is data tabulation. You have to put the entire data into meaningful tables, and it is not enough. In each table, at least calculate the mean and standard deviation, and on the basis of that data, you infer the data. Infer the data means write one or two paragraphs about the meaning of the data collected by you. That is called as inferring the data, the inferences of the data, and then proceed for data analysis. Now data analysis, you can use statistical technique for data analysis. All these aspects normally we write into result and discussion chapter. In IGNOU it is chapter 5, result and discussion. So result and discussion means you have to select your hypothesis, Accordingly, you have to select your observations and inferences through data and information available with you, and then whether your hypothesis can be proved either by observing the data or by using some statistical technique. It is not easy as I am telling you. I also commit many times some mistakes while doing this, because my habit is every time when a student comes to me, I choose a topic of his or her interest. So committing error is possible. But if student will take full interest, then the research is always meaningful and qualitative. If student won't take the interest, then that research, you can understand what kind of that research will be. And that is why many times students are punished. Their projects are titled as failed also. So now onward, we people will be more cautious that our evaluators will judge our project appropriately without biases, and to allow them to do so, our research project will be more accurate, more perfect. So data analysis and interpretation. So in a result, when we prove the hypothesis, either your hypothesis is proved or not proved. You have to write it. And in addition, what kind of meaning you draw from after using a statistical treatment, or after observing the data and the information in hand, that also you have to write. You can write it into result part also, you can write it into a discussion part also. That is data analysis and interpretation. Then step 6, drawing conclusion. Now, on the basis of discussion you made, discussion is normally done about the own result, and discussion is also done comparing your results with the results available in research review. So there are 2-3 ways of writing a discussion. One important way is you discuss your results in the context of the meaning and the expectation you were having from your research finding. And secondly, you discussed it with the context of the research review and the research gap you have identified. Then, finally drawing conclusion. Now, on each hypothesis, either it is proved or disproved, or some other meaning can be also drawn. So, that is writing it precisely at the end in the conclusion chapter. That is a conclusion. That is called as drawing conclusion. Conclusion are also named as finding of the research. It is also called as result, finding and conclusion. Though these words are different, the meaning is more or less same. Some people can fight with you. No, conclusion is different than finding is different than results. But these are similar words, not same. The context vary. And the last step is preparation of report and its publication. Many people prepare the report very well, but they don't write a newspaper report, or they don't write a research report actually. In IGNOU it is not demanded also, but whenever you do any research project, it is expected that you should convert it into a research report or a newspaper report and give it for publication. Because finally all the research you do if it is made available to the public, your research is useful. If it is available to made, it is made available to the various journals, then somebody will refer, somebody will have a counter argument, he can do a research on your research finding, or he can erase your research. In Indian context, I must tell you, most of the research are done and then that goes into some library, that goes into some almari, and then nobody picks it. No industry is interested into Indian research. No entrepreneur is interested in uni because it is not practicable, it is not relevant, it is not as per the requirement of the industry. But in spite of that, one positive aspect is many industrialists are nowadays looking at some national level based institution for doing research for them. Many industrialist approaches to IITs, IIMs, NIDs, NIITs, national level institute. There are around 62 national levels institute in India. Now it might have increased also. My data in my mind is of last 7-8 years old. So it might have increased also. So finally, preparation of report and publication. Now, how to prepare a report? It varies from university to university. It varies from the institution which has given you funding. The funding, if funding is given, so that institution will ask you, I need a report of like this. So accordingly you have to give it. If it is your PhD project or it is your MA final year project, so the university, the way university has suggested, you have to write it. Nowadays, I am interacting with the students of Nagpur University, Raisoni University, Yasvasa University, Kavi Kulguru University, Gondwana University, and IGNOU. So my personal observation is that some universities are very strict about their report writing, research report writing, and the procedures they have given, and some universities are very lethargic. Even the new in Raisoni University, they have given 12 chapters to write. And Nagpur University is still carrying 5 or 6 chapters area as it was carried in 1960s, 70s and 80s. They have not made any changes. So anyway, this is the end of the topic, that is steps in writing a research project. So if you have any question, you can ask me. I hope I have completed it within the time I demanded from you.
Recording stopped.